Hello, welcome to my channel. Continuing with my November 2025 wrap-up of my Dramione Fanfiction reads. To start things off, this first review spread I'm working on is a fanfiction titled The Selfish Vows, an 88-chaptered fic authored by Heavenly Dew. Took me 5 days to finish it and added it to my TBR list. This fic starts off very mysteriously, spouting many questions. Mainly perhaps the whole write-up is through Hermione's point of view, so you only know what she knows. Hermione, though, I felt was too feeble-hearted, in denial always, so confident that Draco couldn't be the necromancer, just because both his parents were killed. She just wouldn't fathom that any child could kill his own parents. So really, I was satisfied at her eventual cognizance that Draco Malfoy was indeed the necromancer. The mouth. Honestly, she was too naive for my liking, not thinking over consequences like a canon Hermione would. So that's a minus for me. Also, I felt there wasn't much room for any Dramione romance, although yes, I will comment on the brilliant parallel use of the original Hans Christian story of The Little Mermaid. It fits them properly, only with a gender switch. AI-generated photos are what I use for my fanfiction journal. Also, as for the alternate ship of Hermione's in the fic, I honestly wasn't too comfortable with the whole Charlie-Hermione thing. Personally, my strength limit for the Weasley brothers is up to George Weasley for Hermione, Fred coming just before him. So really, I got pretty irritated by Charlie. As for the other characters, whoa, Theo Knott is quite a jump from the sweet Theo I'm used to reading. He was quite unhinged in this. Instead, you would be steered to liking Blazer Binney. I really love his complex character. Possibly my favorite character of all in the fic. Giving this fic 3 stars. Also, I have to admit, I had kept an eye out for the OC pangolin ever since I realized there was a spy within the order. I mean, she's too nice for a person. How she easily always covered for Dramione. So I was pleasantly surprised to see my assumption slapped wrong by the end of the fic. Pangolin was a good, nice girl true and true. By the way, I like to indicate the index number of the fanfiction that's tied up to my reading log. I, however, was really impressed with the way the ending was written. To point out, I confess to be a sadist who loves stories where the girl dies, leaving a heartbroken man. But no, in this story, the author was caring enough for poor old Draco. Yes, the real world no longer belongs to Hermione, for she wasn't really alive. The fact that they both knew Hermione would never feel truly content and belong, yet she still strained on and prolonged her deficient life just to live a long life and grow old to accompany her dear Draco. That, I felt, was so very selflessly beautiful of her. So overall, a good story, yes. But still somehow, I felt the whole fic felt staggered. I don't know, it just is. Can't explain how. One of the reasons why I found there wasn't much room for Dramione romance. So, to be really honest, I find this fic just below average, hence the 3 stars. But I still think it's worth the read for a Dramione shipper. Now, the second story I'm working on is titled Between Scars and Sonnets, 40 chapters, written by WriterGirl23. Took me 3 days to finish it. Well, I will ram on to say it's not exactly the best of writing, but it really improved halfway through that one would think the author had a sudden skill upgrade. The first part of the story, set in 8th year Hogwarts, felt rather mild because of said writing. But since I endured, I was rewarded with the huge improvement of not just the writing, but the plot. It became really intense between Dramione. I absolutely relished that intensity and the mysterious ways Draco tried to conceal his feelings for Hermione. His deep love and intense passion for her was something else. I even go to say it's psychotic, and I love it. Of course, I love their knightly endeavors, especially that punishing roleplay. Gah, that was hot. I also love the whole emotions reactions between Dramione. I felt along with the heartbreaks and jealousy through Hermione, and even Draco's, although mainly Hermione's, since it's mostly through her POV. And that's the first AI-generated pic I did for this fic. I have to say I do side with Hermione's counter-reactions to Draco all the while. He was a pretty confusing man for someone who claims he's crazily in love with her. Although I could see where he stemmed from, but one side he's laying his heart and poetry for her, and another time he's mentioning or parodying with other women. A girl won't know what to think of your intentions. But I'm surprised to say that I was glad that Hermione was the one to propose marriage to Draco. I mean, I'm usually very old-fashioned in this matter, but seeing how insecure Draco easily is, it's wise that she puts her Gryffindor heart to do it first. And just luckily, he was smart enough to propose back to her instantly to keep up with tradition. I even love that she suggested a soul bond ritual. I'm giving this fic 4 stars. Theodonot, however, lacked good characterization. He just needed more vigor or deepness. I was disappointed to see that he didn't seem at all serious with his relationship with Hermione while they were dating. It felt too casual. So of course, I love the epilogue. The author did a great job redeeming her negligence for his character by showing what actually transpired in his heart all along. Yeah, Theodonot was still very much in love with Hermione Granger, but he will carry that secret to his grave just to see Dramione happy and ease his guilt. It only explained why he never went all out with Hermione, because he knew Draco's crazy about her. So I could only imagine his pain knowing Dramione had been sneaking around in his house nightly. I mean, he did always say "I love you" to Hermione, albeit making it seem platonic to her when Dramione was together. I admit I had a hunch that those 3 words meant more to him, so the epilogue really cemented the inkling. Then again, one cannot deny that Draco Malfoy's love for Hermione surpasses Theo's. The other characters, though, went by rather vaguely for me. Daphne, Ginny, Harry, Ron, Blaise, Pansy. I almost felt it could just have been better to use the time to focus on Dramione more. But where credit is concerned, I think Ginny Weasley makes the best of friend to Hermione. She really managed to open her eyes. Well, in conclusion, despite the still mediocre writing, I really loved Dramione in this fic. Honestly felt it deserves more love within the shippers online. I mean, I still can't help recalling some of the intense scenes after finishing the fic. Yep, withdrawals, which only proves how good a fic is. Moving on, for those other fanfiction reviews that I do not give 2-page spreads like earlier, I review them like this. By the way, I use the Corpal system to star rate my ratings. A tad too thorough, I know, but I like it that way. Probably triggered some fanfiction community gatekeepers with that. Also, more AI-generated images. I like pasting these pictures, so I'd know later in the future what said fanfiction entailed. There are many fans out there who oppose to using this AI stuff. But hey, must I point out always, my journal, my way. Admittedly, I got a bit overboard with Hermione fanfictions this month. Was just too into Lorenzo Girzolo as Theodonaut. By the way, that second fic there, that'll be my personal monthly Dramione fanfiction recommendation for you, titled Not a Word, authored by Callisto Norland. A very intense Dramione one-shot. I really love it. Also, yes, those green dots are for the index numbers. Now that's my reading log. Just coloring the index numbers of those fics that I reviewed earlier, using random greens of my palette. Wrote my favorite quote of the month here from the earlier reviewed fanfiction, Between Scars and Sonnets. Thought it was witty of Draco to say that. I'm going to cover it with this unpeeled photo sticker, with the help of this washi tape. To make like a flap window, just for a simple interactivity. Anyway, I'm using pie charts for my monthly statistics. For that, I'm using this trace table app. Basically, using this app on my phone to work like a lightbox. Sync in both the center dots and start tracing up the sections. Listing down the tropes for this one. Start coloring them up with color pencils. By the way, I generated the charts using Microsoft Excel. Finish it up by darkening the partition lines. With that done, I think it's time for a flip through. Less than a half page filled for my DNFs. That's not so bad, I guess. November, a 30-day month. Honestly, I thought I wouldn't have enough space to fill my reads, but I still managed to properly fill all 3 pages. Because for some reason, I'd read a bit more novel-length fics more than usual. So my timing was balanced. So, I guess that's it for this month's reads. I thank you all for watching up till here. Till then, happy reading and bye!